Hello, I'm Brian Dobson, owner of Metroflex Gym, the original home of hardcore training. This pandemic has nearly crippled the fitness industry we all so dearly love. With Metroflex gyms now opening up all across the country, it's our turn to hit back. If your health was ever a priority, now's the time. Now's the time to stop feeding your fear and your anxieties and feed your desire to get back on the saddle. For desire is the starting point of all achievement. For those who feel uncertain for what the future will hold, I'm here to assure you Metroflex Gym will continue to provide a platform for bodybuilding and strength conditioning athletes all across the nation. This optimism extends to potential owners looking to venture into owning and operating a Metroflex Gym. With interest rates at an all-time low, you can open up your own Metroflex Gym for the price of a new car. Our Metroflex Gyms are back in business. We're now waiting for you to do the same. Stay hardcore, y'all, and God bless.
After working hard at the gym, you need a mattress that works as hard as you do. Spinalign has engineered the perfect mattress for you and your active lifestyle. Don't compromise your recovery with inferior sleep. Order your Spinalign mattress today.
Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching the Tasty Pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All of your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, whatever's on your mind, it is all on the table. So now bringing Dave Palumbo. Dave, the fans love it when we do this. We are doing it again. There is going to be a sale on Isolize, 2 22-serving flavors of Isolize, 2 of my favorites, vanilla and vanilla peanut butter, on sale now at speciesnutrition.com.
Yeah, I'm a vanilla guy, so those are my 2 favorites as well. And vanilla peanut butter is probably my. When I came out with Isolize and we started to come up with new flavors, everyone's like, you got to, I wanted to do a peanut butter, and initially I just couldn't get the chocolate peanut butter to taste peanut buttery enough. It was like the chocolate was overwhelming it. But I said, can you try like a vanilla peanut butter? And it was so good that we just made it, and it became like a bestseller instantly. So we have some shorter. It's not really short dated. It's shorter dated. I think I believe the vanilla peanut butter is like October, the end of October, and then the other one's the end of November. So there's still several months on it, but we have a very limited amount of those short dated ones. So I'm sure, and I'm just warning you guys, it's going to sell out like this. So we're putting it up for 2 days, but it probably won't last more than like an hour or 2 because we have a few hundred, but not that many, and I know they go really fast when we do these sales. So $24.99, vanilla peanut butter, 22 serve, and vanilla, just plain vanilla ice cream, 22 serve. Head over to speciesnutrition.com and you can pick that up now. It's on the website. Don't wait. I'm sorry if you guys missed it, but we have these flash sales when they pop their heads up, and so you gotta stay up on top of your Ask Dave because that's how you find out about these things.
So again, another great chance for you to absolutely stack up on Isolize, vanilla and vanilla peanut butter, 22 serve, $24.99 while supplies last. Let's go right to the questions. The first 2 questions, of course, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question, Dave, how will you use insulin if you were to use it for a contest carb up?
I don't really like to use insulin for carbing up because I just think it always backfires a little bit. And I don't really carb guys that heavily. I like to fat load and carb them at the same time. And if you're putting fat in it, you don't really need insulin to absorb that. So, but if you were going to do it, I mean, there's 2 ways to do it, obviously. You can take a little fast-acting Humalog with every meal that you eat. It's 10 grams of carbs per 1 insulin unit. So let's say you're eating 40, 50 grams of carbs per meal. You can do like 4 or 5, units of Humalog, every meal on Thursday and Friday, and that would work really well. Because what you're basically doing is you're not looking to overtake insulin. You're looking to take enough insulin to cover your carbs to make sure you absorb them all. I mean, for most people, they produce more than enough insulin on their own to do it. But if you wanted to try it, you can do that. Or you can do less shots of Humulin R, because Humulin R has a peak. Initially, it peaks half of its load, and then the other half of load is delivered in 2 hours. So, I mean, you're eating every 2 hours anyway, so you can do like, let's say you did an 8 IU shot of Humulin R, you ate 40 grams of carbs with that, or 50 grams of carbs with that, and then 2 hours later you ate another 50 grams of carbs. That would cover that. So 1 insulin shot would cover 2 meals, and then you can do another, then you can do it again. You can do 3 small Humulin R shots rather than 6 Humalog shots. I mean, that's one way of doing it. Or you don't even have to eat, you don't have to take an insulin shot at every single meal. You can just maybe do it, 3 short-acting, Humalog shots throughout the day, or Novolog, same thing. There's no rules, okay? Because remember, unless you're a type 1 diabetic, your own body's insulin is working very well. Remember, though, the one thing you need to remember is that exogenous insulin, okay, that means insulin shots, don't work when you're dehydrated. Ask any type 1 diabetic. They have a lot of trouble controlling their blood sugar from taking exogenous insulin shots when they're actually trying to carb up, okay? And they're dehydrated at the same time, excuse me. So you need to be well hydrated, which might be a problem on that last day if you're starting to cut fluids and take diuretics. You might want to use the Humalog shot, the insulin on Thursday. Then on Friday, when you're dehydrating and taking diuretics, you might not want to use it, or just use it maybe in the morning, and then that's it. Because if you start taking insulin shots and they're not working right, and then because your hydration level's off, you can screw yourself up. So that's a very important point that a lot of people don't understand. Exogenous insulin doesn't predictably work the way it's supposed to when you're not hydrated. So maybe 5 units or 10 units might only help you absorb 50 grams of carbs. It might work half as well. You don't know. And that's where the danger starts to come in. Not danger in terms of dying, but danger in terms of your body you could screw up the way you look, and that's, after all that hard work, it's a shame to have to, risk it at the last minute like that.
Second question, again, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. This one kind of harkens back to you talking about a story about how actually, no, it was on the Live with Dave Palumbo story about how essentially over the course of 4 years, I think you gained somewhere in the neighborhood of 115 pounds. So the question is, have you ever had clients put on 20 to 30 pounds of muscle in a year? You don't hear it often, but if someone truly has nutrition, training, gear, supplements completely on point, is it possible? Any good stories?
I do. And I'm not going to mention it. I have several clients that have gained that kind of muscle. Maybe not every year, maybe not serial years in a row, but I've had a couple guys gain, on average, probably 60 pounds over 3 years. And these people are neurotic nutcases like I was. They don't miss meals. They don't miss workouts. They take everything perfect. They test all their drugs. They don't leave any stone unturned, these guys, because it's that important to them to be the best that they can be. And probably a lot of the people around them think they're crazy, just like I'm sure people thought I was crazy around me when I was at that point. But I think a lot of people that gravitated around me when I was putting on that size, they wanted to know how I did it. So the people who thought I was crazy, remember, there wasn't social media then. So you basically hung out with the people who had the same interests as you. So in the 90s, all the people I hung out with and hang out at my house and we got to eat, they were all bodybuilders who wanted to put my size on. So we all had the same goal. And I think a lot of them looked up to me and asked a lot of questions because they saw that I had very good results from what I was doing. So obviously I knew what I was doing. But even though a lot of them asked questions and wanted to do and duplicate what I was doing, I think they couldn't do it because maybe they just didn't have the discipline, or maybe they just didn't have that, nutcase mentality. Some of them had families, they had wives and kids, and they just couldn't make the sacrifices I did. When you're a single guy, I was dating, but obviously I had a living girlfriend, but she was doing the same thing at the time. When you're single and you don't really have any responsibilities, and my job was basically bodybuilding, I mean, it's unlimited, your potential, because you have no distractions. You can immerse yourself in it and give it 100%. And if you actually know what you're doing and you have a game plan and the science of what you're doing, there's no stopping you, you know. So I couldn't fail. It was just a matter of how far my genetics could take me in the sport, and I was going to go to that ultimate end point because I wasn't going to accept failure, you know. And there were a couple of points where I got nervous because, you know, I had injuries in my shoulders, but I always found a way to work around these things, and things always seemed to work themselves out, you know, up to obviously a certain point. As I got older and I hit like my, you know, almost mid-30s, that's when I stopped because I felt I couldn't be any better than I was the year before that. But that, you know, I had a good run. I had a good 13-year run where I was doing, you know, making a lot of great progress. I didn't start as a teen like some of these guys did. I started a little later. And I think for my physique, it might have worked better because I had a very fast metabolism. But yeah, you have to understand that, you know, if you, and I've said this before, I feel like a broken record, but it's important to keep reiterating. If you want to be the best in what you do, whether it be bodybuilding, whether it be growing flowers, whether it being painting, you have to just do your activity at the highest level and all the time. I mean, you need to immerse yourself. And, you know, it's funny, my son is like 4 years old, and, you know, he's kind of lazy and things come very easy to him, and he kind of just, he doesn't. And I was like that as a kid. I was a very lazy kid because things came very easy to me in school and in sports. I was very aggressive and I was good, but I could have been way better. But I didn't practice, and my father was one of these people that didn't want to become like a taskmaster and tell me what to do. So he kind of just sat in the background and encouraged me, obviously, but didn't force me to do things that I didn't want to do. And, you know, if I would have had the work ethic I have now when I was a kid, I would have been unbelievable, you know. But it wasn't that important to me then, I guess. And it became important once I started seeing other kids catching up to me and passing me as they were growing in high school and as they dedicated, you know, more time. My natural ability, I couldn't get by in it anymore. And I had to realize that, you know what, if I want to be good at something and I want to, you know, be the best, then I'm gonna have to give a hell of a lot more effort. So when I went to college, I had all A's my first 2 semesters because I was so nervous when I went to college that I was going to be a dummy and fail, because everyone's like, oh, when you go to college, you're not going to get away with this crap you do in high school. And they were right. But I did. Once I applied myself, I realized that, you know, if you give 100%, you can. I can do anything I want. That's what I felt empowered by that. And so, if you want to be a great bodybuilder, you got to give 100%. Look at Guy Cisternino. He doesn't have great genetics, but this guy achieved, you know, unbelievable success. He won pro shows. He's been on the Olympia stage, and I love it because he's the greatest underdog of all time. And it's because the guy will not quit, and he gives 100% to the sport, and that's the guy you want to look up to. Okay, because most of you guys will fit into the Guy Cisternino and the Dave Palumbo category. You don't fit into the Ronnie Coleman, Flex Wheeler, Jay Cutler, Phil Heath. Those guys are genetic freaks, you know. Yeah, they gave 100% to the sport and were the best that they could be, but they also had the genetics behind them as well. So if you want to be your best, you got to give the most.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not following us, our handle is official_RxMuscle. And before we go there, if you're watching us for the first time here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss any of our segments. Good one to get us started off on our Instagram questions is from Excellent187. Why does the 212 get overlooked in terms of publicity and social media chatter? You always hear the back and forth between the Classic and Men's Open regarding the future and popularity, but somehow the 212 almost never gets the same attention. And then furthermore, do you think the 212 division will even be around in the next 10, 15 years?
Yeah, I don't know why those guys sometimes don't get the credit they deserve. They work just as hard. They're just as freaky. They're just shorter, most of those guys. They're like a shorter, freakier version. I love the two. I like the 212 division better than I like Classic Physique, because they're real bodybuilders. Not that Classic isn't real bodybuilders, but Classic guys are limited in how big they can get because of their height to weight restrictions. The 212 guys, they have a 212 limit, but most of those guys don't really, that's not really such a big drawback because a lot of them are really short, so they're really on that level anyway. They're not really going much above 212. So for me, the 212 class is really exciting. I think we just need to see a new infusion of talent in there. And once we get more guys like George Peterson in there competing against Kamal El-Gargni and some of the new guys coming up that we're going to see in that division, that's going to add a level of excitement to it. I think it's going to become good again. I think, look, the open bodybuilding went through that also. There was a little down dip in the open right now, We're going to get new talent coming in. It's going to get exciting again. It always ebbs and flows. You never have, supreme talent all the time. It's not the way it works, I think that, to see guys like Keon Pearson battling with, with the Kamal, Mr. Olympia right now, with George Peterson, I'm excited. That's exciting to me. I think it's great. Matter of fact, I'd like to even see George Peterson in the open division maybe at the Olympia. I think he's got enough muscle to stand with those guys. If Hadi Shupin can stand up there with those guys, George Peterson can stand with those. Who knows how he can do? I mean, the Olympia could theoretically not have a very good lineup this year. I mean, you're going to have Brandon Curry obviously defending his title. We're not going to see Phil Heath. We might see Sean Roden. I don't know if his court case is going to be settled by then. We're not going to see Kai. We'll probably see Big Ramy back there, obviously. But I think that, there's a lack of depth there at that level. I mean, you got guys like Bonac, who's not tall. Hadi Shupin probably won't even be able to get there. Who knows if Bonac will even be able to get there with the international, flight restrictions. So this might be a perfect year for a guy like a George Peterson or a Keon Pearson to jump into the Olympia if they can qualify. So I don't know. I think the limits are there is no limits, really, is what it amounts to. Why the 212 division is not getting love, I don't know. The one thing I really don't know is I have no idea why the Arnold Classic pulled the 212 division out of there. That was, to me, a very big disappointment, especially since Arnold, was friends with Franco Palumbo, who would have been a perfect candidate for the 212 division had he been competing in today's world. So you would think that he would have championed that, that idea. From what I was told from the Lormas, they said there was no interest in the 212 from the competitor standpoint. I don't believe that. So maybe they'll bring it back. They brought the Miss Olympia back to the Olympia, so I don't see why we wouldn't necessarily see the 212 division back at the Arnold, and maybe the Miss Olympia, the women's bodybuilding back at the Arnold. So there's always, they get rid of cars like the Mustang and the Camaro, and then they bring it back 10 years later in a new, improved version. So don't count anything out, and I think the 212 division is here to stay.
Well, let's go to a bold duck. How important is iodine to bodybuilders? And furthermore, are bodybuilders, in your opinion, getting enough of it?
I think if you're taking a smart multivitamin, multi-mineral formulation, I think bodybuilders will get enough of everything. I think the problem is the bodybuilders and people in general, the general public doesn't know what a good multivitamin is, because they think that getting what they need is based on the recommended daily allowance, or RDA, which is they have the government has a bunch of guidelines to tell you how much of each vitamin mineral they need, or a person needs, to not get a deficiency. The problem is that these guidelines are based on someone laying in a hospital bed doing nothing. So athletes need a lot more vitamins, a lot more minerals, and there's also obviously various forms of these vitamins and minerals that are more or less absorbable. So when I see these one-a-day multivitamins, I want to blow my brains out that people would be stupid to think that they're going to get everything they need from that. I spent a lot of time and a lot of money researching and developing, V-Mineralize, which is a vitamin and mineral mix. It's 10 pills a day, 5 pills twice a day, with real effective dosages in it, with chelated minerals that we know are way more absorbable than regular minerals, with fruit and vegetable extracts in there to give an extra, phytonutrient and antioxidant punch to the product, and with real effective vitamin dosages. So, and I use usable form. Like, we don't use vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin, we use methylcobalamin, which is an activated form of it. So there's a lot of nuanced differences to multivitamins, multiminerals. If you're not taking a good quantity, I'm not saying you have to take mine, but if you take mine, you're not going to be vitamin and mineral deficient, okay? We have effective dosages of stuff in there, and we have absorbable forms of them. And a lot of people just don't realize that. And when you become deficient in these vitamins and minerals are the cofactors to all the chemical reactions in your body. So you can't build muscle, you can't burn fat, you can't metabolize carbohydrates, you can't absorb glucose via insulin if you don't have enough of these minerals and vitamins present. And we're finding every day more and more that we need vitamin D3, we need vitamin K2 to absorb to absorb calcium and direct it into the right place. We need enough B vitamins to metabolize carbohydrates. We need iodine for the thyroid gland to work properly. I put a really healthy dose of sea kelp into V-Mineralize because that's a form of biologically active iodine. And if you don't have enough iodine, then you can't make thyroid hormone. So these are all things that, I've already figured out and researched and determined. So even if you didn't know all the vitamins and minerals you actually need because you don't know the science of it, it doesn't matter. I've done all the work for you. All you gotta do is take demineralize and you're covered, so to speak. And then, of course, you need to take an essential fatty acid supplement because you can't synthesize, DHA and EPA and GLA, which is one of the omega-6, essential, anti-inflammatory, fatty acids. So once again, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to know the science. I did the work for you already. That's why when people ask me, what do you think are stuff that you need to take and stuff that you don't need to take, I always say the essential stuff is demineralized, omega-lyzed, fiber-lyzed, because you need a fiber supplement. Everything else is, what I call luxury item, and that's fine because a lot of these luxury items make your life a lot easier. Protein powders to get enough, protein in, pre-workouts to give you a little boost in the gym, energy drinks, amino acid, formulations to give you a little extra branch chains. They're all good, but they're not essential. So get your essentials first, then buy the other stuff if you have money to spend on the luxury items. You don't go out and buy, a Ferrari and then you can't pay your mortgage payment at home. No, you have a house, you can pay your mortgage payment. Whatever you have left, that's what you can spend on a car. It's the same thing with supplements. Make sure you buy the stuff that you absolutely need that's going to help your performance and health, and then whatever else you have left, then you can go spend it on the other stuff.
Let's go to Swole Ginger. Dave, I eat 4,000 to 5,000 calories. Oh, hold on a second. My little 2-year-old snuck into the room. I eat 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day, whereas my protein is around 250 to 280 grams, carbs 500 to 700, and fats 120 to 40 a day. I'm still not noticing much weight gain. I'm 6 feet tall, 214 pounds. Any suggestion to why I'm not gaining weight?
I have no idea. I don't know if he's training properly. I don't know if he's taking the right supplements and nutritional. I don't know if he's eating enough protein and fat for what his metabolic requirements are, and that's why that's why a coach is so valuable. I have people that come to me all the time, and they say, can you help me gain weight or can you help me lose weight? I'm doing this and 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 that. I don't know why it's not working. Well, you're following a diet someone else gave you that they were using themselves, and it's not adequate for you. You need more food to grow, or your training is you're overtraining, or you're undertraining, or your metabolism is so fast we need to feed you more fat, or whatever the case may be. It's impossible for me to make a blanket statement without analyzing everything that's going on with this person. And that's a problem because everyone wants to go online and find a diet and follow it, and they think they're going to get great results. And that's unfortunately when you're at a high level where you're trying to add mega mass to your body. That's what I call it. Not just, I want to gain like 5-10 pounds of muscle. I want to be like a professional, elite level bodybuilder. Now the requirements become a lot higher, and it's not about the drugs sometimes, and it's not about the training. And a lot of times it's about the right nutrition, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes I have guys and girls that eat perfectly, that take the right drugs, and that their training sucks. And because after a while I'll be like, I don't understand why this person's not getting, why their legs won't grow. I'm like, you know what? Shoot a training video. Have someone on your phone take a video of you doing squats. I want to see your form. And I look at it and I'm like, no wonder why their legs aren't growing. They're doing half reps in squats. They're cheating. They're leaning over and using their back. All these mistakes that they're making in their training. So when as a coach, a lot of times you assume that the person you're working with is taking care of the training part, in the gym, because you can't be in the gym with them necessarily if you're doing the diet supplements. But not always. Not everyone trains properly. A lot of people, I see guys go in the gym and they're benching and they're wondering why their chest isn't growing. They bring in the bar and the bar is stopping, 6 inches off their chest, and they're wondering why their chest is not growing. They're like, well, I'm benching 405. I said, yeah, but you're only benching it halfway. Can you even do 225 to your chest? No. Well, you better start learning over again. So then they got to go back to the drawing board with 135 again and reteach themselves how to bench press. So you got to analyze all the variables. It's impossible for me to on a 30-minute TV show to figure out what's wrong and why you're not gaining weight. But to answer your question, it's usually food related, but it could be training related as well.
Let's go to Sins on Fire. What are the main goals you're looking to check off when going off cycle and doing PCT, such as resensitizing receptors, restarting natural production, or getting certain health markers in line? And how can you make sure you've achieved these goals before you go back on again?
Yeah. it's funny because I've had guys on seriously heavy cycles, and they come off, they get blood work done, and before they even come off, they get blood work done, and all their markers are fine. That doesn't mean that they don't need to give their body a break. It just means that their health markers are good. Their liver and kidneys and blood, everything is functioning well, whether they're on gear or not. That their bodies are just able to handle it. That doesn't mean that their bodies are not strained. You really don't want to get to the point where your health markers are crap, because that's not good. That means your body's been under strain for a long time. So I don't necessarily have to see, granted, I don't want to see people's creatinine, which is kidney function, high. Okay, I don't recommend going back on a heavy cycle if your creatinine is 1.5. That's ridiculous. You got to get that down to normal. Now, liver enzymes, unfortunately, don't go down a lot of times, because when people go off cycle, they're still training, and training raises those numbers, and that's just from leakage from the muscle cells of enzyme levels, because the enzymes found inside the muscle cells, the metabolic enzymes, are the same enzymes found inside the liver cells. It's hard to distinguish them, so sometimes you'll have high liver enzymes, but they're really not high liver enzymes, they're really high muscle enzymes, and it's just from breaking down a lot of muscle tissue, which is nothing wrong with that. Likewise, red blood cells will be high, but those are not going to go back down unless you donate blood or you wait 120 days after your last shot, because the red blood cell has a lifespan of 120 days. So I'm not really worried about that. LH, FSH, which is your pituitary hormones that stimulate the testicles to produce testosterone, those are never coming back in 6 or 8 weeks that you go off a cycle. And it doesn't matter because you're going back on a cycle. So I don't have to wait until those go back to normal. Okay, because why do I have to worry about your body turning its natural production on if I'm going to put you back on a cycle, or you're going to go back on a cycle anyway and shut it back down again? So what you're doing is you're going off cycle to clean out, to give the organs of digestion and the detoxification organs like the liver and the kidneys a chance to rest a little bit. You're going off to resensitize androgen receptors, which are found in the nucleus of all your cells, rather than them being constantly bombarded and overstimulated with high dosages of steroids. Now they're going to be understimulated, because you're probably going to not be producing even enough normal testosterone. So what's going to happen is those receptors are going to say, where's all the testosterone? No, it's not here. Well, let's produce more receptors. So you're going to increase your receptor density, which is good. And all this takes place over about anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks. And if you clean out during that period, your organs should feel better. Your receptors should regenerate. A lot of guys will do my 3-week, detox cleanse program that I give out, which involves some liver detoxification and kidney detoxification, and the way the foods and stuff you eat allow your digestive system to recover. And that will speed up the process a lot of times too of detoxification. So, especially if guys only want to go off for 6 weeks because they got something coming up, they might do the 3-week, cleanse and detox. And then, and if you guys email me, I'll send it to you for free, huge285@aol.com. And then what happens is then they'll go back on. So that's really what the goal is. The goal is restore receptor density, give the organs of digestion a chance to recover.
Let's go to Big Ant. Question about your career. Did you have any serious injuries when you were competing, and how did you train around them?
The only serious gym injury that I had, I pulled quads and strained things. I never tore a muscle where it needed to be reattached or anything like that. After my career, I tore my quad slipping on a staircase. That was not while I was competing. The one injury that was really, really bad was I did a guest posing in 2002 in South Carolina, and I used to do a split in this routine I did on stage, and there was oil on the stage, and my leg slipped out from under me, and I tore my groin really, really bad. Ironically, I don't think I missed that much training from it, but it looked horrendous. It was like black and blue. It was like really soft for I'd say for a good 3 weeks. I had just blood spots, dead blood under my skin. I think I might even gotten an infection in my lower leg because of all the stagnation that kind of went down there. That's when I learned, if you ever tear a muscle or ever damage something, hurt something in your leg, wear pressure stockings on your lower legs, because it helps prevent that stagnation. Because what happens is no matter where you tear something in your legs, gravity's going to pull it down to your feet and your ankles, and they're going to get swollen, and you can get an infection like that from just the stagnation down there. But that was probably the worst injury I had. It was really painful too, but I worked around it. I did my upper body. I got back to doing legs little by little, And I didn't miss that much time, but like I said, I had a couple arthroscopic surgery on both shoulders in the 90s, but that was literally missed like 3 or 4 weeks the most on those, because it really wasn't any major cutting. It was like a cleanup mostly. My gynecomastia surgery, I only missed 2 weeks in the gym. That wasn't bad. I got lucky in a sense. I had injuries that I worked around, but I didn't really have like major gym injuries. I always said when I was in the gym, I was so focused that it was impossible for me to get hurt, because I would never allow it. If I was benching and I felt like a pec, pulling apart, that happen. Everyone's had that happen a few times. I had a training partner pulled the weight off me. That was it. I stopped. So I never allowed myself. I get hurt because I'm not paying attention. So like when I tore my quad, I was walking down a flight of steps. I didn't realize it was water on the stair. It was a weird shaped spiral staircase, and I slipped. If I would have been in the gym, I would have been watching the steps. Because that's how focused I am. I'm not focused on anything else. So like my wife likes to say, I'm a terrible multitasker. So if I have to do multiple things at the same time, that's when I'm dangerous. So I get hurt outside of the gym. I don't get hurt inside the gym. And I think that's a testament to the fact that I trained well. I always used full range of motion. I didn't try to lift weights that I knew I couldn't lift. Even though I challenged myself, I always did it in a safe way. And I think that that's an important point, to pay attention to. Never let your ego take over and say, oh, well, he's doing 405 in the bench. Even though my best bench is 315, I'll try 405 today. That's stupid. That's how you get hurt.
Time for a couple of more questions. I wanted to get this one. It's from Tanner Durkee. Do you know any pros or any other bodybuilders using kratom? I use it regularly. There's such a lack of information, and there's out there true proof that it does not affect muscle growth. It helps me in my daily life, but I need to know that it's not affecting my progress.
I don't think that kratom will inhibit muscle growth. But what I think what people forget is they think it's like this natural supplement, and that it's not as bad for you as say, well, it's better than me taking Percocets. I'm in pain. Well, you're still addicted to something. It's still a painkiller. And it's still affecting, the narcotic, centers of our brain. So you are addicted to it in a sense. I think Chris Bell said it best. Chris Bell was addicted to painkillers because he had a terrible hip replacement botched surgery or something like that. And he was on painkillers and he wanted to get off, and he discovered kratom. He even did a whole documentary on it. And he thought it was the greatest thing. But he realized, he said after a while, he goes, I'm still a drug addict. I'm addicted to kratom. And so that's what he got when he did the ibogaine treatment recently with Amin and Jim Tamagini, and he got off all the narcotic painkillers and everything, and the ibogaine kind of reset his brain. But he said it best, and I'm glad it came from him because he was a user. I'm not a user of kratom. You're still addicted to something, okay? There's still a problem here, and I don't know how it affects your life if you're happy with it and it seems to work for you. I don't know why you would be in chronic pain. If you have a serious injury or disease or something like that, that's one thing. But if you're using because you just can't deal with your reality and you need to be high on something all the time, that's definitely a problem that you should address. Maybe through a psychologist or whatever the case may be. But it is what it is. I'm not in that situation, so it's hard for me to make that statement. But I think it's naive to think that kratom is better than say just taking prescription meds. I think it's the same thing essentially. You're just substituting one for the other.
Last question is from Shawnee Boy Fit. What were the worst side effects you experienced during your PED usage? And the second part, what prompted you to finally retire before earning your pro card?
Worst side effects, acne. It was just annoying to me. I think, it wasn't obviously affecting my muscle gains, but I hated it. I was just very prone to breaking out. And I didn't realize what was causing it. It was just high DHT levels. I probably could have fixed that a little bit. I wound up having to take Accutane twice. So it was an annoying side effect. I didn't really lose hair until I was 30. So I can't say hair loss. Some guys take it and they lose hair right away. My hair was I probably cursed myself. I said, I wish I didn't have such thick hair. It's such a pain in the ass to style it and stuff like that. Meanwhile, I would kill for my thick hair now. But the truth is that hair loss really wasn't a side effect for me, like I said, till I hit about 30. So acne was the biggest pain in the ass. Gynecomastia was the worst looking and psychologically damaging, but I went and just got it taken out immediately. So I said I wasn't dealing with that. I wasn't going to worry about, does my chest look terrible when I take my shirt off? So I got that taken out right away. So that's an easy fix. Acne was a little bit more of a nuisance and a little bit of annoyance. And once again, for me, hair loss really wasn't an issue. Prostate never really bothered me, so I can't say that was a problem. I never had a sex drive issue. When I took anabolics, I always had a very high sex drive from it. So I can't say that was a problem. Some people have prolactin issues, like with Decker and stuff like that, and have erection issues. I've never had that a problem. So I would say acne probably was the most annoying. And why did I retire when I did? Well, because I always said right from the beginning, first of all, I always told people, I said, if I'm still competing when I'm 40, shoot me, okay? Because I knew that was too far. But I was at 33, 34, and I said to myself, you know what? Another thing I always said to myself is if I can't be better than I was last year, and I'm going to be worse or the same, I'm going to stop competing. Because at that point, it means that it's time to say la vie. And so I hit, 2003 was my pinnacle. 2002 and 3, I was second place at USA Nationals. 2004, I dropped a couple placings. And I wasn't happy with the way my physique was looking. And I wasn't blaming the judges at that point. I mean, maybe I could have been a couple places higher, but I think they did me a favor because I looked at my physique and I said, you know what? I can't pose the way I need to because I can't externally rotate my arms on a double bicep because my shoulders were so bad. I'm faking it in the gym. I'm not really training, the way I need to make improvements. And I can't position my body the way I want to because I'm in pain shoulder-wise. What am I doing? I'm just breaking my body down at this point. And you know what? I started noticing my blood pressure was getting a little higher. I was 34. I started taking some blood pressure medications. I'm like, I think this might be the sign I was looking for to say, okay, that's it. And I said, what value would be me getting a pro card? I can't compete as a pro and win any pro shows anyway because I have injuries. I don't have the structure that these other. I had to take a reality check on myself. And I said at this point, and I always wanted to start my own nutrition company, so I said, you know what? You're young, you still have health, why are you going to push it and then wind up, with organ failure later, in 5 years from now because you're trying to push it and you're not even, and you can't even get better at this point. So I said, all right, that's it. And it's a tough conversation to sit down and have with yourself because you have to come to grips with the fact that, you know what, you took your body as far as it can go. But I have no regrets because I went pretty far. I had a lot of notoriety. I guest posed. And I still continued to guest pose after that for a couple of years, even though I was even off gear, just on HRT. But I was in demand. I was still doing seminars. I was still relevant. I said, you know what? Now is the time to start nurturing the next part of your career, which is going to be after you're done competing. And I said, you're popular right now. Take advantage of that. And that's what I did. And and then Steve Bleckman offered me that job at Muscular Development, running the website, and which I really enjoyed. I was running my own website at the time, kind of covering shows because I was going to the shows with all my competitors I was working with, and it just kind of gave me. It was like something just one door closed and another door opened. So I walked through the new door rather than trying to go back to the old door. And I think a lot of people, try to still go through into that old door that just isn't really open anymore, and they keep banging their head on it and they're not going anywhere. And I didn't want to waste time. I'm the kind of guy that I'm a very creative being, so I have to constantly create. If I don't feel I can create because I'm at a roadblock, then I stagnate. So I said, you know what, I gotta reinvent myself so that I can be happy with what I'm doing. And I never thought I would get bored of bodybuilding, but bodybuilding, someone up there, the big guy up there said to me, hey, you know what, you're done. I'm telling you, you're done. Are you listening to me? And I said, yeah, I'm listening to you. Where do I go now? He's like, follow your instincts, and that's what I did. Listen to your instincts. Your gut never lies. Never, never, never. If you feel like it's not the right thing to do, don't think you're quitting. Okay, a lot of people say, "Oh, he's a quitter." How every time he achieves something, he just quits and does something else. No, I'm done with it. I know when I took something to the degree that I wanted to take it to, and I'm ready to move on to something else. And that's what life's about. It's about living your passions and living what makes you happy and being a creative being. If you are a creative being and you're always creating something new and you like what you're doing, whether you did something for 15 years and now you don't want to do it anymore and you want to do something else, go for it. Only you can make those decisions. You can't let anyone else tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing, or you should quit or you shouldn't quit, because you know inside what the right thing to do is. You're the creator of your reality. Whatever you think about, whatever you put your attention on, that's what you're going to create and be great at. And so that's what you guys have to come to grips with. You have to become honest with yourself, and you have to be you can lie to everyone else, but don't lie to yourself, because if you lie to yourself, you'll be very unhappy.
That is going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Something that I think many of you listening to that last finally learned something a little bit more about Dave's career in that final chapter, and then eventual transition into what we're doing today with RxMuscle and, of course, Species Nutrition. Speaking of Species Nutrition, right now at speciesnutrition.com, vanilla isolized, vanilla peanut butter isolized, 22 servings each, $24.99 only while supplies last. So it's a great opportunity to stock up on protein again at speciesnutrition.com. The link is below in the description. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.